Tonight will be our public hearings, and we have 3 of those tonight. And our first one will be Section 405.195, Main Street Overlay District, ADM-104. Mr. Fick, you want to bring us up to speed on that? Appreciate it.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission. For tonight's public hearing, we just ask for the approval of the amendments to Section 405.195 regarding land use restrictions for Main Street Overlay District. I ask for the ordinance of the City of Warrenton to be made part of the record by reference, comprehensive plan City of Warrenton to be made part of the record by reference, and finally the packet shown as ADM 104 on the agenda to be made part of the record by reference.
Fick, anyone here to speak on behalf or against Section 405.195? Hearing none, we'll move on to our second public hearing, which is 405.050, Definitions and Interpretation Amendment -103.
We ask for the approval of amendments to Section 405.050, definitions and interpretations to include the definitions of juvenile or teen community activity center, pawnbroker / personal credit loans, pawn shop, tattoo parlor, and bail bondsman / agency. I ask that the ordinance of the City of Warrenton be made part of the record by reference, comprehensive plan of the City of Warrenton be made part of the record by reference, and finally the packet shown as ADM-103 on the agenda to be made part of the record by reference.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak on behalf or against that? Hearing none, we'll move on to our final public hearing for this evening. That's Appendix A, the listing of permitted and conditional uses, ADM-102.
We ask for the approval of amendments on Appendix A regarding the listings of permitted and conditional uses for juvenile or teen community activity centers. I ask for the ordinance of the City of Warrenton to be made part of the record by reference, the comprehensive plan of the City of Warrenton to be made part of the record by reference, and finally the packet shown as ADM 102 on the agenda to be made part of the record by reference.
Anyone to speak on behalf or against that public hearing tonight? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearings for this evening and open up our regular business meeting. And the first order of business will be our minutes from our last meeting, which was July the 11th, 2019. Motion to approve or to...
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted for the July 11, 2019 meeting.
Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Cooper, to approve the minutes as submitted from the July 11th meeting. Roll call vote.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Costello?
I'll abstain. I was absent.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Burton?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin?
Yes.
London? Abstain.
Yes.
Mr. Priest?
Yes.
One is absent.
Motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent. Next order of business will be Section 405.195, Main Street Overlay District, ADM-104, which was just discussed in a public hearing. And the board has any questions or comments, now's the time.
I have a question. Always.
Good.
Where exactly is the overlay? Which streets? Is it just Main Street? Is it off streets?
The overlay starts on Main Street and it goes down to, I should just look this up. Elm, yeah. They keep calling it, what's the business? Binkley. They kept calling it Binkley Road, but I was like, it's Elm. Yeah, so it's 47 to
47 down, just Main Street or off streets
yes.
too?
Boonslick, Main Street,
Just
yes.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're asking for we have an approval request to amend Section 405.195, the Main Street overlay. We're asking that the overlay districts be amended to include land restrictions along Main Street. Public hearing notice was posted on August 15, 2019. Staff recommends the following regarding amendments to the Main Street overlay. We're asking that these uses will no longer be permitted on Main Street. That would be tattoo parlors, the juvenile or teen community activity center, pawn shop / personal credit loan agencies, and bail bondsman agency.
Ask what happens to the ones that are there now?
Existing ones can continue, just new ones will no longer be able to come and play on Main Street or the Boone Slick. We're also asking for the changes as far as the parking on Main Street. So the Director of Planning and Development, with the concurrence of the Board of Aldermen designee, may recommend that the landscaping requirements of Section 405.265 may be modified or waived when in the sole discretion of the Director Board of Aldermen's designee. The landscape requirements are unduly burdensome or impractical. We have a lot of parking where we can't do anything with the parking, so we changed. Or the landscaping, it's concrete or asphalt all the way up to the building. So those
But
are
it
the
asks them to
circumstances.
landscape is impossible anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the total amount of parking space required for a given lot or parcel may be reduced by the site plan review within the Main Street overlay. So this wouldn't affect other businesses that are coming in. It's just on Main Street. So we have ample parking all the way down Main Street. So we're hoping to be able to use all the parking for the businesses and not restrict them because maybe they need 10 parking spaces for the type of business, but they'll never actually use those. And then finally, to remove Section 405.250, the off-street parking modification of the downtown commercial historic area. The downtown commercial historic area is defined as a Main Street, Highway 47 west to Elm Street. The total amount of parking and loading space required for a given lot or parcel may be reduced by the site plan review. Loading space requirements shall not be required within the DHHA. All I have. Any questions?
Curious about that loading and parking. It's for apartments and things like that. They're not going to have parking available for them, or like those apartments we just recently did.
The historic area, no. So the requirements they were really restrictive. And before I looked through some of the old videos for the parking, we weren't able to enforce the residential side of it anyway. We actually allowed another building to go in, which required additional parking, but we actually waived it because we couldn't make them do additional parking, or they didn't have the space to do the parking. So we not allowed.
So we had this issue come up, as you guys will recall, when we adopted the downtown commercial historic area ordinance. The purpose is to really try to create an overlay district that allows to really carve out the downtown area to allow different standards, different uses and whatnot to, really push with what the downtown association is doing with regards to trying to improve and better, downtown. And if you guys will recall, there was, I think it's where the pawn shop is up on Main Street. There was originally like a pool hall that was going to go in, and they had a parking requirement that it was 20 parking spaces, and they had no alley, they had no back area, they had no way to meet it, and it was a building that wasn't being used. And so we're like, well, this doesn't really make sense for downtown. So what we did was we created a section 405.250 that just related to parking. And so really all this is doing, we already had that in our code where we could reduce it through site plan review. It's just moving it into this, section that will be the overall downtown historic district. So it's, they have the set amount of parking that's necessary for the uses, but if the use going in, if the building, some of those buildings, there's absolutely no parking available. We want those to be occupied. And, what this allows us to do is look at agreements for cross access for parking. So if somebody has a lot here, they can contract with somebody here to do it. Or maybe one of the issues that came up was a lot across the street where a house had been. Can they level it and put a parking lot in there? So it's not, this is kind of a locked geographical building area that some uses may not meet the required parking, and to have a little bit of an ability to alleviate that, to encourage development. And like I said, All that really does in removing section 405.250 is taking it out of that section and putting it in, sticking it in this new overlay district. So everything is right there in one place.
I have a question about changing are we gonna allow them to sell their business? Or are we saying that once they move out,
Legal non-conforming use is what it's called. It's called grandfathered. So let's take a tattoo parlor, a hypothetical tattoo parlor that may be downtown. That tattoo parlor, regardless of the owner, uses, we don't tie, and you can't tie in Missouri uses to the owner. You tie it to the property. So as long as I think it's 90 days, Neil, or 6 months, as long as their use is not discontinued for whatever our code sets out, period of time, then they can continue to operate that use.
okay, and they can sell the
Sure.
business to somebody else?
Sure.
without
As long
a
as they don't go out of service
Go
for
out
a
of
amount
business,
of
okay.
time, yeah.
All right, okay.
You can force them out through, say, you can continue to operate for 2 years, and then you have to no longer exist in that area, but Warrenton's never done that. You can do that, cities do that, but we've never done that. We've always said it's just a discontinue of use, and then you lose your legal nonconformity.
Anyone else? Motion?
Approve the request to amend section 4. Main Street.
I'll second it. Oh,
A motion by Mr. Deach, second by Ms. Blondin, to approve the section 405.195 Main Street Overlay District ADM-104 as submitted. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Irvin?
Yes.
London?
yes.
Yes.
Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Taylor? Costello?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Next order of business will be section 405.050, definitions and interpretations. Any questions from Mr. Groville?
Right, so we're asking for the approval of the amendments to section 405.050, definitions and interpretation. We're asking that we add the definitions and interpretations for juvenile or teen community activity center, pawnbroker / personal credit loans, pawn shop, tattoo parlor, and bail bondsman agency. The public hearing notice was sent out on August 5th, 2019. So staff recommends the approval of the section 405.050, which provides the definitions, and I could read those. Alright, so juvenile or teen community activity center, a meeting place used by juveniles and or teens or all members of the community for social, cultural, or leisure purposes. The pawnbroker / personal credit loans, any person engaged in the business of lending money and a security or pledged goods, or engaged in the business of purchasing tangible personal property on the condition that it may be redeemed or repurchased by the seller for a fixed price within a fixed period of time. Pawn shop, the location in which or premises in which a pawnbroker regularly conducts business. Tattoo parlor, an establishment which principal business activity either in terms of operation or is held out to the public in the practice of placing designs, letters, figures, symbols, or any other marks upon or under the skin of any person using ink or other substances that result in a permanent coloration of the skin by means of which the use of needles or other instruments designed to contact or puncture the skin. And finally, bail bondsman agency. Bail bondsman means any person, partnership, or corporation engaged for profit in the business of furnishing bail, making bonds, or entering into undertakings as surety for the appearance of persons charged with any criminal offense or violation of law or ordinance punishable by fine, imprisonment, or death because any of the courts of the state or securing the payment of the fines imposed and/or costs assessed by such courts upon final disposition thereof.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to section 405.050 definitions and interpretations of ADM 103.
Motion by Ms. Blunt, second by Mr. Deitch to approve the section 405.050 definitions and interpretations under the ADM-103. Any other questions or comments on that? Roll call vote.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Condon?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Barton?
Yes, motion passes 9-0 with one absent. Next order of business will be the Appendix A, the listing of permitted and conditional uses.
The approval request for amendments to Appendix A, listing of permitted and conditional uses regarding juvenile or teen community activity centers. We request the change to Appendix A are included in the P&Z packet. The public hearing notice was posted on August 15, 2019. So staff recommends amendments to Appendix A to include juvenile or teen community activity center, and we also ask that you amend Appendix A for the Senior Center for Community Activity Center. This will allow the Teen Community Activity Center to be allowed in C1, C2, C3, M1, and M2 uses, and we want to match the Senior Center to match the Juvenile Teen Community Activity Center as well. So that would also be in the C1, C2, C3, M1, and M2 uses. And because the senior center was already approved, it would also be allowed in the C4 area.
And is that to establish that those are permitted in those zones or conditional in those
It's
zones?
conditional. Yes, those would be conditional in those zones. Questions?
Move we accept approval for the amendments to Appendix A for ADM.
Second by Mr. Costello to approve the Appendix A, the listing of permitted and conditional uses, ADM-102. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Deitch?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mrs. Condon?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Priest?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. That'll officially close the meeting and open it up for Mr. Fick's announcements.
The only thing I have coming up for next month is going to be the Elks Lodge is trying to do their trunk or treat at the fairgrounds, but they're also trying to add a haunted house. And so I'm waiting for approval from the fire department because they're wanting to do something inside the area, which I'm not sure what the materials are, the size. So we just have those safety concerns. So as long as we can get that approved, that's going to be the only thing on next month's meeting. So I hate to do that, but that,
Right by the rules that we
yeah, right. So that's all I have for right now.
Question two about, what kind of restrictions do we have on mobile homes as far as, whether they can be? Have any restrictions on mobile homes?
We're currently researching that, yes, we do. The only place that it's clearly allowed is in the mobile home parks.
Okay. I've been getting stories about when some restrictions against it at the moment.
Our comprehensive plan clearly calls out recognizes the existence of the two mobile home parks, which allow lower income focuses that type of mobile home. We're working on it.
Okay.
else have anything for the good of the group?
When was the last time we had 10 commissioners at a meeting?
I only got 9. That higher math gets you every time.
Oh, yeah, you're right, we only have 9. All right.
But it's been a while since we had. But that's what summer does to us, though. So, we have everybody here tonight, and we'll see you next month, and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thanks for coming out. See, I told you I'd have you home in time for the Packers-Bears game. The Bears!